Welcome to part 3 of my first time rigging experience. Now that Tiny Stars is back, I can start rigging body XYZ. Body X is the body facing left and right, body Y is the body moving up and down, although now there's a new meta of leaning forward and back, and body Z, which is body tilting left and right. If you did head angle XYZ, this is honestly easy mode. After adding all the art mesh, I started with body X. I began with warping everything with a deformer. When there are details the deformer can't get to, I activate body X with the art mesh and directly rig the art mesh. I never really thought about how my outfit would look like when I turn my body. I probably should have thought this through and drew some layers for it, but oh well, let's just work with what we have here, which is stretching art meshes. I also created a deformer for each arm for body X. The arm just moves inward a little when I turn, so that was easy. I want my hips to move left and right when I turn too. So I rigged hip swaying on body X, completed with slight leg movement. Here's how it looks with augmented physics. For body Y, I'm doing a simple tippy toe and knee bend because I didn't know about leaning forward and back at the time. 2D Vtuber legs are usually not shown unless it's a model showcase, so I didn't really bother separating leg layers or draw any detail at all whatsoever. This made the legs very easy to rig. With proper art mesh, my knees can even look like they're bending a little. I mean, this ain't much, but for something that no one will ever see a second time, I'm quite happy with what I have here. I just realized body Z, which is tilting side to side, would need hips to move as well. So I created a hip sway parameter and used the change option to move all the hip sway stuff from body X to the new parameter. For body Y physics, I encountered an issue where the output maximum won't increase. It turns out that I need to move the parameters a little first in order for the output maximum to be increasable. Anyways, here she is, tippy-toeing and squatting. If I want her knee bend to look more convincing, I should probably draw a knee shadow to appear when I bend my knees. I added body Y as an input to my hair physics, so when one day VTube Studio can track body Y independent of angle Y, my hair will move as well. There's actually an option to add cursor tracking to body Y so I can see how body XY look together with augmented physics. Hehe, so bouncy. Since the hip sway is done, I only need to do a simple shoulder up and down for body Z. I created some deformers for body Z and rigged accordingly. You know the drill, looks good enough. I saw this amazing rig on Twitter where the skin around the eye will move around with the eye. Like, that looks so real. I need to have that. So I created one deformer for upper eyelid art meshes and one deformer for lower eyelid art meshes for each eye and rigged it with eyeball XY. I just need to do a little nudge. Don't want to overdo it. You can see the difference with and without this change. It's hard to imagine a Sailor Moon art style anime eye with eyelid movement like this. I think this is more for a realistic eye shape. Once I'm happy with it, I did the same old copy and paste because I really don't bother doing the same thing again in the other eye. After some adjustments, I'd say this looks pretty good. Don't forget to test it in different head angles too. Time for Booba Physics. First things first, I think this art mesh is way too dense. Optimization, remember? More dots means more work for my potato laptop. My Booba art doesn't have much details anyways. I started with 4 deformers, X1, X2, Y1, Y2. You know the drill by now. It's the same thing as the bangs and the hair. I rigged the Booba physics on the bang physics parameter because I think the movement is similar and too many physics takes up resources when running on a computer. It's on hair X right now, but I will move it in a bit. I know for X1 I just need to move them left and right. For X2 I try to only move the tip of the Booba. I'm not sure if that's how it should be done. Let's see it in the physics setting. They look incredible. Y1 is the vertical bounce. It's done by simply dragging multiple points on the deformer. For the horizontal bounce, I try to make it look like left and right is squeezing together and spreading apart. The Booba looks so good. I'm surprised it looked this good without any tweaking. Am I just that talented or do I just have a low standard of good Booba? Let me know in the comments. The Booba moves with the head, but that's okay because VTube Studio tracks body and head with the same value anyways. It won't look weird when I actually use the model, hopefully. easy. Now I just need to adjust my shirt collar to move with the Booba Physics. Looks perfect. Time to rig breathing. The breath parameter will automatically go from 0 to 1 back to 0 over and over again. You may ask, why do you need this auto breathe parameter? Don't you breathe? Well, yes, I do in fact inhale and exhale air, but VTube Studio doesn't track body XYZ. It only tracks head XYZ, so it won't know when I'm breathing or not. So it's a good idea to rig the breathe parameter just to add a little bit more life to your model. I used myself as reference, so when I breathe, only my shoulders and chest moves. Therefore, I'm going to add a breathe deformer to my torso, shirt, and arms to slightly move them up when I breathe. Looking good. Now it's time for my own special things. I have a couple things I want done. I want clock hands to rotate in my eyes, moon phases on my earring, rings to rotate on my other earring, and stars to rotate in different speeds on my shirt. I created a rotation deformer for each clock hand. I should have only created one rotational deformer and then copy paste the other two to make sure the center lines up, but this looks good enough. I only need two keyforms here because rotational deformers have this angle value. For one turn, I just need 0 angle at one end and 360 angle at the other end. If I want 6 turns, that would be 6 times 360 equals to 2160 angle. Apparently, there's a limit to the angle value, and that limit is from negative 3600 to positive 3600. That's 20 turns maximum. So I put the longest hand in a separate parameter, so if I need to rotate it more than 20 times faster than the other clock hands, I can do that in animation. Moving on. The moon phase is made of a circular base moon and a square moon shadow. I used a square shadow because the edge of the square need to be bent both ways and still look good. The moon has 8 phases, so my last brain cell put 7 instead. I probably need some in-between keyforms, so let's do 21. I used deform path edit for this as well. Just put a few more points between the two sides and moving one won't affect the other. I did need a few frames for when the shadow disappears from left and shows up again on the right. I ran out of whole numbers, so I had to use some decimal keyforms. It ain't pretty, but it works. I proceed to rig the rest of the moon and well, looks like we're missing a phase. I increased the parameter to 24 and here's the final result. The stars are just the clock hands all over again, so I'll skip the explanation. Now the rings. The rings are just a small earring, so I'm not doing anything crazy. I started with the largest ring. I wanted to flip and rotate 120 degrees every flip. That's what I thought I'm doing, but somewhere in the middle, I think I started doing 90-degree rotations. I'm using Eclipse for extended interpolation already, but it's still shrinking a little when it flips. I don't know what I did, but it looks fancy enough, so I'll just let it be. The medium and small rings have less rotation because they are small. My criterion is to look cool, so I was able to quickly rig them. I kept the 3 rings in 3 separate parameters so I can control their speeds relative to each other. Animation time! Go to animation and drag your VTuber to the timeline. Just hit OK to create a default one. My model art file is huge, so I do need to shrink her a little bit. This is keyed in placement, so don't forget to delete it later. So in animation, the orange tab represents the length of animation and the purple bar represents when your VTuber would be on screen. You can add keyframes to the timeline. Each keyframe represents a parameter at a certain value. After some trial and error, I discovered that repeating parameters like my clock can be set to any values. So if my clock hand goes from negative 30 to positive 30 and I want it to repeat twice, I just need one key at negative 30 and one key at positive 90. Live2D is doing this weird thing where the clock will slow down at the end of the animation. This can be fixed by setting the parameter as linear or going into the graph editor and make the graph linear. I think my largest ring isn't rotating enough when it spins, so I added an extra deformer and parameter to rotate it 360 degrees. If any of you are doing spinning rings next time, have one deformer parameter pair just for flipping the ring and one deformer parameter pair just for rotation. Then you can adjust the ratio of flips and rotation freely in animation and don't have to slowly rig multiple keyforms like what I did. I am limited to what I rigged, but I believe that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so my ring looked fancy enough. I'll just let it be. I want the stars on my shirt to turn slowly, so I had to make my idle animation 2 minutes long. My animation just ended up being this really simple 2 keyframe per parameter thing, but it's doing everything I wanted. Here's the idle animation and physics. My baby's really coming together. I wanted to have a simple wave animation as well. Since I have 3 hands to switch between, I set up a parameter for each hand to control their opacity. In the expressions menu, I can set other hands at 0 when one hand is 1, so I don't need to worry about having multiple hands show up at the same time. Behold, the most robotic wave you have ever seen. We gotta fix this. Making the hands swing a little more definitely helped. It looks good enough now. I can always come back to this later. I also added heart eyes and star eye toggles. I didn't even need to rig anything, just drag the heart into the eye XY folder and call it a day. If you think you will use these toggles a lot, you can add physics or animations to it. While writing the scripts for this video, I procrastinated and added more stuff to my model. I have drawn another highlight in the eye because I don't like the current one. It turns when I blink. So cute. I added an anime style big highlight toggle, I added a blush toggle, and I added a drawing arm. Yes, as an artist, how can my model not have a drawing arm? VTube Studio can track mouse movements in x-axis and y-axis. I just need to create a parameter to toggle the draw arm and also create draw x and draw y parameters. I won't go into too much details since the video is getting long, but here's all my deformers and art meshes used to make the drawing happen. Feel free to pause and observe. All I'll say is I won't be able to rig this without guidelines, which you can right-click to add. Expressions are set in Live2D Cubism Viewer. The process is pretty intuitive. Just make sure that if you want to set, let's say, heart eyes, turn every other eye toggle off while you turn heart eyes on. Same thing goes for any toggles that you don't want to activate at the same time. Export model settings and we got all the expressions. Everything's done! How do I look?
Come and fly away with me. 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 Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die. So come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making through. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000.
It looks good, right? You know how long it took? A solid 50 hours. It's my first model, so I did waste a lot of time figuring things out. I can definitely rig faster a second time. I'm going to rig V-Bridger for this model's mouth soon, so please subscribe if you would like to see that. Here are some of the videos that helped me a lot. I'll link them in the description. You can't rig without a model, so check out how I made my model in this video. Bye!